How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Well. All right, Joe. This is from People Magazine. This has hit the wire. I checked. It actually hit the wire late yesterday, so it's not an April Fool's joke. An adult novelty company based in California is recalling some of its chocolate products after it discovered they contain potentially harmful amounts of ingredients also found in Viagra. Gear Isle has voluntarily recalled its Gold Lion Aphrodisiac Chocolate Male Enhancement Satchel and Ilum Chocolate Male Sexual Enhancement Booster after the products were found to contain undeclared active pharmaceutical ingredients. Sildenafil and Tadalafil, the U.S. FDA announced the chocolates are both labeled as dietary supplements and sold nationwide they were sold. They're not anymore. Sorry, folks, you can't go there to get them now. They apparently had such high doses, among other things, and they were afraid of medical interactions. It's a West Sacramento. Those of you out on KSTE right now, the West Sacramento-based company is asking customers who purchased the chocolate to stop using them and return it for a refund. Customers should contact their physician or healthcare provider if they have experienced any problems that may be related to taking or using this drug product, said the FDA. People Magazine has reached out to the FDA and Gear Island for additional information, but didn't receive immediate responses. Oh, the people who ate the chocolate got the immediate response. Oh, my gosh. There is no joke that I can say on this program without having to hit the delete button. The FDA, in a related statement, says that this company could face some stiff penalties for this chocolate. I mean, isn't that the purpose of the chocolate? I mean, the actual name of the chocolate bar is the Gold Lion Aphrodisiac Chocolate Male Enhancement Satchel or Sachet, and the Ilum Chocolate Male Sexual Enhancement Booster. Those are the actual names of the actual chocolate products. The chocolate was too hard to eat, though. So anyway, we got to move on. 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. We got to talk about something more insane than that. I want to talk about I heard someone earlier today called it the centipede phenomenon of the podcasters. And so pause. I'm sorry. I'm distracted by the rock hard candy, and I need to reset. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts because it all goes back to so when I started in radio, Rush Limbaugh was a very good friend, was a legit friend. He wasn't the sort of acquaintance people that you claim are friends. He was actually a real friend. He helped me get my radio show. He was the guy I could turn to day or night for advice. One of the last things he did before he passed away was he sent my wife an iPhone and made me promise I would keep her up to date on iPhones. He was a dear friend. And when I got into radio, he gave me lots of pieces of advice. And one of the pieces of advice he gave me was to stop listening to other people on the radio and podcasts. because I might have an idea for something, and if I hear someone else say something, then I'm probably not going to want to say it. I'll pull my punch because am I going to be accused of plagiarism or whatnot? And if I say something that someone else has said and I haven't listened to it, I can honestly say I don't listen to that person. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I spend my day reading the news. So I don't need to listen to what other people think about the news. I read the news, I call the primary sources, and I figure out what I think about the news so I can give you guys the news. I mean, my job is, yes, to keep you entertained. And that was the other piece of advice from Rush. My job is not to save the world. My job is to keep people company. The way I keep people company is to entertain them, get their mind off things when I can. But also the way I view my job is to tell you what's happening in the world. I could be far more successful if I just told you guys what you wanted to hear, to be quite honest with you. Because that's what a lot of these massive podcasters do, is they go down these rabbit holes. They tell people what they want to hear. They affirm your wildest thoughts as true. And you have an affirmative echo chamber and feedback loop. That's one of the reasons so many people on the left have lost their mind, and we're starting to see it on the right, is because these people just tell you what you want to hear. When you are told all the time that you are right and you're not, you lose the ability to even determine when you're wrong. And when you are simply affirmed and entertained with nonsense over time, you begin to think the nonsense and the entertainment are reality. I want to play you some audio from Matt Gaetz. He was on with Benny Johnson, the podcaster. Matt Gaetz, remember, almost became the Attorney General of the United States. He was a member of Congress and had his sex scandal. I don't know that he was eating the chocolate. He was doing things he shouldn't have done. And the House Ethics Committee was investigating him, and he left Congress to become the Attorney General. And then he was a bridge too far, and President Trump yanked his nomination. And this is a man who was once going to be the United States Attorney General.
I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An
actual member of the United States military. Friends, do you really believe this? This is a man. This is not his April Fool's Day podcast. I realize there's an interest in aliens these days. You know, J.D. Vance is getting a lot of heat for saying they're demons. Why are we dismissive of demons? They're real. You believe the Bible? The Bible spends a good bit of time on the demons. Why do we think we're more likely to encounter an alien than a demon? The speed of light applies as bounds everybody in this universe, but you can certainly come through a dimensional portal. String theory talks about the dimensions. It's certainly possible, if you know the math and the physics, to understand that there are dimensions, and far easier to come through one of those than to come across the galaxy at the speed of light. I actually think what we're dealing with when we see these UFOs and drones is actually technology. Matt Gaetz, of course, talked about that too. This is what he had to say in the same conversation.
Okay, so there's classified stuff that you've seen that you can't talk about. What if that was declassified? Trump says he's going to declassify it. What if that was declassified? What would happen with the American public?
I don't think I've seen probably some of the most interesting stuff to declassify. Again, I think that if the things I've seen were declassified, the public's questions would be around how this technology exists that can do some of these things. And if we don't have it, and if we don't believe anyone else on Earth has it, where do we think it came from? I think those would be the questions.
So it's like space age technology that would break our brains.
It would not be anything that you know exists on Earth.
And you.
Are we really sure it's aliens? This is the thing that kind of I marvel at. We are on the verge of sending people to the moon today. No other country has done that. And so when we see something that we don't understand, we presume it's got to be the aliens. It can't be the Chinese. It can't be the Japanese. It can't be the Russians. It's got to be the aliens. If it can't be us, it's got to be the aliens. There is a level of arrogance in that statement that it must be the aliens. We can't understand it, or we have misinterpreted it. You know, there's things that we can misinterpret. But what happens? Why? We've got Candace Owens and the anti-Semitism. We got Tucker Carlson and the anti-Semitism. We've got now Megyn Kelly and the anti-Semitism. We've got Benny Johnson and the UFOs and Matt Gaetz out there. We're breeding. We're cross-breeding with aliens for intergalactic communication. My Aunt Daisy. It's for my Aunt Daisy. My Aunt Daisy was actually my great aunt. She was my mother's aunt. She was my grandfather's sister. She had been a nurse, participated in the first heart transplant, as I understand it, in Houston, Texas, and then learned to drive by literally going out, buying a car, and driving to Louisiana. She was a cat person. Nobody wanted to ride with my Aunt Daisy. She had one of those old 1980 brown Chevy Caprices, and she would keep the back windows of the car down and so that she could put the cat food on the back seat in aluminum pie trays. And it was the soft, smelly, nasty stuff. And she didn't want dogs getting the cat food, so she would roll down the windows in the back of her car and leave the cat food in the back of her car so the cats could get in and eat and pee, and nobody wanted to ride with my Aunt Daisy in her car. She also subscribed to the News of the World and the Inquirer, and loved the News of the World and the Inquirer. The aliens, they were writing about it in the News of the World in the 1970s. The Inquirer, I mean, you want to talk about people eating the aphrodisiac chocolate and breeding with aliens. The Inquirer's been covering this stuff for years. For the people who want to believe, and sadly, the world is, I guess, so boring for people. We've got a growing number of people who want to believe, and they get on the podcast, and it drives traffic to the podcast who get the clicks. I mean, these were profitable publications, the Inquirer, News of the World, and the like. Very profitable publications, sold at your local grocery store in the checkout line, and they made a killing because people were so bored with the news of the day that they needed to believe the aliens were here. Now the podcasters have embraced it. And it's my Aunt Daisy. If she was alive, she'd be listening to these podcasts and convinced the aliens were here, be listening to them while she's feeding the cats in the back of her car. The problem is that it used to be a minority, and now we got a growing number of people who want to believe in the aliens. They don't want to just believe in the aliens. They want to believe their favorite conspiracy theory about COVID and lizard people and you name it. It's the conspiracy theories. Why? In some ways, it's people who have failed at life. They need somebody to blame, so they concoct a conspiracy theory, or they're trying to simplify a complex world or complicate a simple world. But a lot of it, too, is they just want to be entertained. Today, a group of people, men and women, they're going to hop aboard a rocket ship. And they're going to go further into space than humanity has ever gone before. And the funny thing about it is that there are going to be people who insist it's not real. There are going to be people who insist it's not true. There are people who insist to this day we never landed on the moon. And then those people are going to tune in to Matt Gaetz talking about the interbreeding between an alien species and humanity in order to achieve intergalactic global communication, and they are going to believe every single word of that because they want to be entertained, and sending men to the moon and back is too boring for them. The Christ is a 4-part Easter audio epic. It brings the gospel narrative vividly to life, from the humble manger to the victorious resurrection. Through world-class voice talent, cinematic soundscapes, and stirring music, the The Christ launches Easter week 2026. The first episode drops March 30th. You can listen to The Christ for free wherever you get podcasts, or go to thechristpodcast.com. You've got world-class talent participating in this. It makes it amazing to listen to. It keeps it engaging. It's the first ever full-scale audio dramatization of Jesus' life across 4 immersive episodes using cinematic quality sound, music, and performances, featuring more than 100 different characters and advanced sound designs to deliver the quality of a feature film through the medium of audio. Check it out at thechristpodcast.com. That's thechristpodcast.com, or your favorite podcast app, wherever it may be, rooted in biblical truth and theological integrity. It's thechristpodcast.com. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you if you text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. The show notes are not behind the paywall today. Everybody can get them. You can get my morning pieces this week. I have been writing all week of Holy Week about that particular topic. And they've all been not behind the paywall as well. So if you text Eric to 33777, click the very first link, and you'll be able to get all that great information. I have enjoyed writing those pieces, and there's been plenty of stuff to talk about in the mornings that I've had to put on hold and cover in the show notes during the day. Now, I want to say something real quick here, and I need this for posterity's sake. Your April Fool's Day posts are not funny, particularly if you are a major corporation and you're selling us stuff. No, Johnny O, I didn't think your 5/8 zip or whatever it was funny. It was dumb. The various restaurants I have seen trying to say they've concocted new creations or they're doing boring meals. Nope, it was just dumb. Your social media posts for April Fool's Day were lame. Your tweets were lame. Your lies were lies. They were not funny. You didn't fool me. It was all nonsense. You wasted your time getting your interns to Photoshop something to be too clever by half, but you were just dumb. Please give up April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day may be fun between friends, but the corporate advertisers of Americans trying to be cool and funny, you're just making yourself look dumb, and it's a waste of time. Please stop wasting the rest of our time with your stupid social media stunts on April Fool's Day. If you and your friends want to have a good time on April Fool's, making fun of each other and seeing who's gullible enough, well, God bless you. Go for it. Have fun. Enjoy. But for the rest of us, please stop being stupid, corporate America. There's no reason for your post that isn't very funny. Just stop, please. It's annoying at this point. It used to be funny, and now you guys are just out of ideas, so give it up. Now, I don't want you to give up on having hot water forever. This is no April Fool's Day joke. This is a real thing. It's the Rinnai tankless water heater. It sounds like a dream, but it's a dream come true where you and your family never have to worry about your tank of a water heater running out of hot water because you give up your tank for a tankless water heater from Rinnai. You go to talkingtankless.com, you click the button, you talk to a Rinnai professional, they can get one installed on your present home. You yank your tanks out, you put in a tankless water heater, and you never run out of hot water again. I love our tankless water heater from Rinnai. Our power bill went down using it. It's efficient. It sips on gas to keep the water flowing when it comes through, and it's hot. And it just works, y'all. It just works. You go to talkingtankless.com and you click the button. Let a Rinnai professional yank your tank of a water heater and put in a tankless water heater. The arguments between your kids about bath time go away. You always have hot water whenever you need it. You can all be in different parts of your house using the hot water at the same time, and nobody's going to impact anybody else with the hot water. It just works. I got to get up. They've got a factory up near me in Griffin, Georgia. I got to get up there at some point and tour it. They've been wanting me to come up. They're great people, Rinnai, and it's a great product. A tankless water heater from Rinnai. Have hot water forever with Rinnai. Go to talkingtankless.com, yank your tank, put in a tankless water heater, and you can thank me later because you'll be wanting to thank me because you will never, ever run out of hot water again. Talkingtankless.com. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. This coming Friday will be the Good Friday program, where if there is big breaking news, I will interrupt the plan, and I will instead deal with the big breaking news. But assuming, as most Good Fridays go, the headlines can wait, it's important, I think, that we reflect on the most important event in human history. And to do it this year, I'm going to be joined by three guests. Doug Wilson of Christ Church in Idaho. And I can tell you, I've had several friends of mine who were saying, I can't believe you're having Doug Wilson on the radio. Yes, I'm having Doug Wilson on. We had our conversation on Monday. It was very good. Also, Matt Smethers, who is a Baptist preacher in Richmond, Virginia, and also Cardinal Robert Barron of the Catholic Church will be joining me. And we actually did our call yesterday, and we videotaped it, and it should be a great conversation. He is a phenomenal guy, brilliant man, and was delighted to be able to meet him in person. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to interview John Deloney. Many of you know John. He works with Dave Ramsey and has a book out that my buddy Daniel Patterson convinced me, he's a preacher over at College Station, Texas, convinced me that audiobooks are not cheating. And I have just convinced myself audiobooks are cheating. And they kind of are, I still think. But at this point, it's like, well, I need to be reading books, and I got time in the car. I might as well listen to audiobooks. And so I've started. And I started with John's book on a non-anxious life. And I talk to you guys about having a non-anxious life all the time and about anxiety. And he's written a book on it. And so John Deloney and I are going to talk tomorrow. And because of his schedule and mine, we can't do it live. So we're going to do it pre-recorded and video it by Zoom and hope to be able to bring that to you. Although I got to tell you, I kind of hate him all of a sudden. My wife, when I told her I was interviewing John Deloney, the first words out of her mouth was, "Oh, he's the cute guy who works with Dave Ramsey." Seriously? Then she decided that because he has a tattoo sleeve and she does too, that she should be the one to interview him. I had to put my foot down and say, no. You are not interviewing John Deloney on my program. It is the Eric Erickson Show. It is not the Christy Erickson Show. It's like, oh, you follow him on Instagram, the cute guy who works for Dave. At least she knows. She's very excited. She's a big fan of John Deloney. So never met him before. Going to interview him tomorrow. Now, all of this said, I'm going to pause here. And I'm going to spend a few moments on one of the higher order topics that I could wait until Friday. But with me talking to John tomorrow about anxiety and anxiousness, I'm going to talk about this right now with you because the amount of people who I have encountered in the last week who really, really are completely stressed out about the whole world, and they are living with existential terrors over the things happening right now in the world, in the headlines with Iran. I had somebody this morning comment to me that, do you think the Iranians are going to try to blow up the Artemis 2 mission tonight? No, I really don't. Could something happen? Yep, something could happen. They could scrub the whole mission. The way NASA's going these days, I wouldn't be surprised. I pray that everything goes well and safe. But people are very, very anxious. Not all of you are into theology or into religion or anything like that, and I get that. But it is who I am. And I know some people who really believe that if there is a God, this could not be his plan. I hear this so much. The two things that come up to me because I talk about faith on the show are, how can I worship a God who gave my wife cancer? And if there really is a God, this certainly can't be his plan. He must just be crying about this. On the first one, how can I not worship a God who came to earth as a child, lived an innocent, perfect life, and was crucified, died and buried, and rose again from the dead because he wanted a relationship with me so badly and with my wife? He defeated death, so my wife will too. He didn't give my wife cancer. We live in a fallen world. Disease comes from sin, not from God. But he wanted to conquer sin and death, and he did. So my wife will one day go home to the Lord, but she'll be there when I get there. How could I not worship that God? The other one, there's something in Scripture called the proto-evangelicum. It's a very fancy way of saying the very first pronouncement of the gospel. It is in Genesis 3:15. Adam and Eve have eaten of the forbidden fruit. They are now fallen, and God says to the serpent that the woman will give birth to a child, and the snake will pierce his heel, and he will crush his head, crush the serpent's head. It's in the very beginning of time. Now, Adam and Eve, interestingly enough, assumed that their first son, Cain, was the fulfillment of the prophecy. They were so convinced that their son, Cain, was the fulfillment of the prophecy. His name means to possess. And they raised him to be a gardener. Why? Because they believed they were going to repossess the Garden of Eden, that's how quickly this would happen. They would repossess the Garden of Eden. Think about that. Cain's name meant possess, and they raised him as a gardener because they thought we were going to get right back into the Garden of Eden. Abel's name meant nothing. Now, names had great power at the time. People ascribed names to the kids. And Abel's name meant nothing. Really, his name meant vapor. It was nothing. They made him tend to the sheep, which was, even in the days of Jesus, tending the sheep was like the lowliest of low. One of the significance of the gospel messages appearing first to the shepherd's testimony was not allowed in court. People didn't like having them in town. Shepherds were not considered trustworthy. They were the lowest of the low. So Adam and Eve have two kids. One they name Possess, and they intend to repossess the garden, and so they raise him as a gardener to tend the Garden of Eden. And the other one, they don't even give him a name that means anything. He's just nothing. And Cain doesn't repossess the garden. He kills his brother. Isn't it ironic that God tells them that the serpent will strike their son's heel and their son will crush the serpent's head, and Cain crushes Abel's head, kills him, picks up a rock and kills him. Well, turns out the prophecy was wrong. So then they have Seth, and Seth is the new son. And they also named Seth in a way that suggested they expected Seth to bring them their salvation, and it's not him. And then you get to Noah, and Noah's name is Sabbath, and it's a play on the Sabbath rest, and that he would bring the rest, and he saved humanity, but he didn't restore the garden. He didn't restore the relationship. And thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, here comes Jesus of Nazareth, who is born in a stable, in a food trough, who is raised and lives a perfect life, and his own people welcome him into Jerusalem as a king on a Sunday, and by Friday, hand him over to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, to die. Pontius Pilate hands him right back to the Jews, and the Jews say, no, you go kill him, so he does. So, this is the plan, huh? The first kid turns out to be a murderer, and then you eventually get to Jesus. Well, he's put up on a cross and killed. Had the story stopped there, well, yeah, I could understand those of you who say, God, really, this can't be his plan. Really? This is his plan? No, there's no way. He must just be crying about this and lost control of the plot, except what happened next. So for all of you who say this really can't be the plan, just because it's not working out for you at the speed you want it to work out, it works out. Adam and Eve kind of did it too, didn't they? They named their son Cain to possess. They raised him to be a gardener to get back in the Garden of Eden, and he turns out to be a murderer. Not exactly the plan. I guess Eve was like, gosh darn it, I guess God really lost control of the plot. He doesn't really have a plan, is he? He's just looking up there. He's looking down on us and crying. Must be upset. Hey, lost control of everything. Out of the gate, lost control of all of it, except he didn't. He just did it on his own time. God's got this. He'll take care of everything. And he will. We're in the end times, and theologically, the end times are after the resurrection. Jesus says he's coming back, and so we're in the end. But I think we're at the end of the end times, y'all. That is my personal belief. When you look at what's going on in the world has lost its mind. Now, keep in mind that eschatology is the only study of theology that people use their present circumstances through the lens. So if you go back to the very early 1900s, like 3 years before World War I started, the eschatology of humanity was very positive that Jesus is coming back and we are ready to go. And then World War I happened. And then World War II happened. And then the Cold War, and then everything else. But y'all, I mean, we are 2,000 some odd years removed. The history tends to go in 2,000-year phases. And I just look at the world today, the people who want their ears tickled. They don't really care about sound theology or thought. They just want to be affirmed in their beliefs. People have taken Christ and used him as a cudgel instead of a salve. But it's all part of the plan. So if you are anxious and you're not a believer, well, I welcome you to believe. But if you are, stop freaking out about the headlines. You're going to be fine. I've read the end of the book. You got a pale horse and then a guy on a white horse, Johnny Cash singing backup music. You're going to be fine. You're totally going to be fine. Everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. And for those of you who don't believe, you're sitting here, oh, Lord, here he goes again. Why don't you take control of your life? So if you just say Jesus is a philosopher, which C.S. Lewis says he doesn't give you the option. He's either the son of God or he's a nut. But let's say you've taken he might be a historic figure. He's a philosopher. Just take the philosophy of Scripture. Seek the welfare of the community in which you live, because there you will find your welfare. Go find the soup kitchen in your community. You are anxious, hag-ridden about the world, the headlines on a daily basis. You feel the doom. Okay. Go find your food bank. I challenge you. You don't believe in any of the stuff I'm talking about. You're an atheist. You're a skeptic. You're an agnostic. You're of a different faith. Okay, that's fine. Go find your local food bank. Look it up online. Where's your local food bank? And you go volunteer to help. Go volunteer to help at your local food bank. Or your soup kitchen. Go find your local soup kitchen. My father-in-law operates the soup kitchen in Carroll County, Georgia. They're always looking for volunteers. Go find your local soup kitchen. You go commit 1 day a week at lunch to go serve food to the people who need it. And then after a month, let's get back together and talk about it. I bet you're going to have less anxiety. Part of your anxiety is because you have a lot of time to be anxious because you're not out there seeking the welfare of your community. You are anxious because you're hag-ridden by the headlines of the world. You're not paying attention to the world that's right around you. You're so busy looking at Washington, D.C., you drive past that homeless guy every day and ignore him. If you want to improve the world, don't show up at the ballot box, show up at the soup kitchen. I'm not telling you not to vote. Go vote. But I'm telling you, you're not going to improve the world meaningfully just by going to vote once every other year. You're going to improve the world by showing up in your local community and being committed to it. If you're a parent and you say, I don't have time to go to the soup kitchen today, show up at your kid's school and be involved in your kid's school. Go to the PTA meetings. If you're in a public school, you owe it to yourself and your kid to be involved in your kid's school, particularly in a public school. Go show up, be involved, and participate. Yes. Does it take time out of your day? Yes. But why don't you give up the time looking at the headlines, getting anxious, and show up and get involved in your kid's life at school? Show up at the soup kitchen. Find the battered women's shelter. Donate some clothes. Donate some money. If you don't have time, give money. You don't have money, get on your knees and pray. But stop being so anxious and convinced that the end of the world is nigh. You're not going to stop the end of the world. You're absolutely not going to stop the end of the world. There is nothing you can do to prevent the world from coming to an end. Inevitably, if you're an atheist, you're going to die. People are going to forget you, and that's the end. And ultimately, the sun is going to expand and consume the entire solar system. A big cloud of plasma. There's nothing you can do to stop it. But in the meantime, there's a guy on the side of the road who could use some help, and you don't help him by just throwing cash at him. Oftentimes you hurt him by doing that. You go to the local food bank or the soup kitchen, and you take care of the people there, and you work there, and you improve the life of that homeless man. He is your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Are you your brother's keeper? Cain said no. God said, yes, you are. And who is your neighbor? The homeless guy who's holding up the sign right now. And I'm not telling you give him cash. I typically don't. But support the food bank, support the soup kitchen, support the battered women's shelter, donate to Goodwill, donate to the Salvation Army. If you've got time, put in time. You don't have time, give cash. You don't have cash, put in prayer. It is a choice for you to be hag-ridden by the world. It is a choice for you to live in existential dread of what might happen tomorrow when you can exercise control over today to improve someone else's life, and that will make you feel better tomorrow. It's your choice. It is your choice to be angry and miserable and always online, on social media, whipped into a frenzy about the latest, greatest conspiracy theory, or it is your choice to turn off social media and get your hands dirty in your community. It is your choice. Which do you choose? I will tell you, if you choose to turn off social media and get into your community and try to improve the lives of other people, your entire world order will reset itself, your entire well-being will reset itself, and your anxiety will go away because you've exercised a small little bit of control in what you can control to improve someone else's life instead of being so self-absorbed as to think your world is coming to an end tomorrow. Your world might come to an end tomorrow, and you can't stop it, but today you could make someone else's world better. It's your choice. So we got a busy day for us the rest of the day. The astronauts are making their way out to the spaceship, and the President of the United States is going to address the nation tonight. There is some speculation the President is going to announce he's winding down operations in Iran. I think that's speculation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to say we're going to be there a few more weeks, which is what Marco Rubio himself had signaled as we continue to try to make some progress there. Additionally, the Israelis have stepped up their attacks on Iran overnight, as have the United States military operations there with the Marines now in the Persian Gulf. And then we got a rocket launch. Now, for those of you who missed it earlier, this is Julia Letlow. She's running for the United States Senate in Louisiana. The governor of Louisiana got the president to endorse her. The president has been unhappy with her the more he's learned about her. The governor of Louisiana misrepresented her record. This is her. Listen.
I believe we need a division on this campus, a division of diversity, equity, and inclusion with leadership that goes all the way to the top.
That's Julia Letlow. She wants DEI on a college campus in Louisiana, and now she's running against Bill Cassidy for the United States Senate. You may not like him, but he's more conservative than her. I think John Fleming's probably the most conservative person in that race. So you do have options, Cassidy and Fleming, but Letlow, not a DEI supporter. I don't think you want to support her. You do want to support Vision Computers, though, because they can build you a computer that works fantastic, and you get their world-class tech support with that computer at no extra cost. If you're a company, that's a game changer for you. You let Vision build your computers for your company, and everybody gets Vision's world-class customer support. They do email support, printer support, you name it, but they do it for you at home as well. You got a kid that's headed to college in the fall, you probably ought to get them a computer from Vision Computers, and then Vision can be their tech support through their college, taking care of them. Got a senior citizen relative, and you're tired of being tech support, Vision can do that too. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. If you're a small business, that's a no-brainer to work with Vision. You work with actual human beings. Your employees get a phone number. They call 15 seconds or less. They get somebody on the phone to help them with their tech needs. You can't afford the in-house IT guy, but you can't afford Vision Computers, and they are real people, not AI chatbots. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. 404-COMPUTE, visioncomputers.com. Tell them Eric sent you.